So let's dive into this really powerful parable about a knight's final confrontation. But this isn't your typical battle with a dragon or some invading army. No, this is a much deeper struggle, a fight with doubt, with truth, and with the very idea of the divine. This is the story of a vigil of silence. Our story kicks off with a character who isn't even human, the gargoyle. Just imagine it, a 300-year-old stone witness, perched up high, totally silent. It's seen centuries of hypocrisy and hope play out right below it. It's kind of like the ancient, unblinking eye of this whole drama. And then, of course, we have our protagonist, Antonius Block, the knight. He's described as a monument of doubt. And that armor he's wearing, it's not just for protection. It literally reflects the cold, hard light of a world that has just decided, you know what? We're not going to talk about our own decay. But, every good story needs something to shake things up. And that's where the jester comes in. He's called a truth-telling monster, the not self-made flesh. He doesn't show up to make people laugh. No, he's here to start an inverted journey, a descent right into the heart of the kingdom's moral decay, and the knight is going to be his main subject. So the stage is set for this showdown on, well, a stage of stone. A gray, bleak churchyard that was picked specifically for its cold indifference. It's the perfect backdrop to strip away every last illusion.
All right, the first major act of this parable is what's called the sound of silence. This is where the knight really starts to pick apart the very foundations of his own belief system.
The knight is the first to speak, and his words are just dripping with sorrow. He's basically asking, why is heaven so profoundly silent? To him, this isn't some holy peace. It's a senseless, terrifying horror, a sign that humanity has been abandoned, left to drift alone in a godless void. But from the gargoyle's ancient perspective, well, that silence is something else entirely. It's not about God being absent. It's actually the meeting place, the very spot where the sacred and the mortal are shown to be one and the same. I mean, let's be real, the universe doesn't exactly circle human despair on its calendar.
And this is where the jester chimes in, speaking in what's called the void register, this cold, absolute voice that just names the hidden truths behind everything. He basically suggests that the knight's dread is just another performance, a mask to hide his fear of a universe that, frankly, just doesn't care about his suffering.
So, with belief totally deconstructed, the conversation takes a turn. The focus shifts away from the silence of God and zooms in on the knight's desperate, frantic search for meaning as he faces his own mortality.
And this is where Antonius Block really confesses what he's after. He's not looking for treasure or glory anymore. All he wants is one single meaningful act, some deed that could somehow justify his entire life against the certainty of death. Now, the jester's response just completely flips the knight's entire worldview on its head. See, the knight is trying to do a hero's climb towards some peak of meaning. But the jester insists that the real path, the true path, is an inverted journey, a descent through the world's ugliness and rot, because that's where truth is actually found. The jester completely redefines what meaning even is. It's not some trophy you get at the end of the game. It's the form of a life that just naturally comes about from paying attention to your own inner spark, that internal ember. So, that big quest for meaning? It doesn't end out there in the world somewhere. It ends right here, inside. The only truly meaningful act is to stand in front of the uncanny mirror and just face the fractured, complex reflection of your own soul. Now, to really understand the knight's struggle, the parable introduces a foil, another character who represents a totally different kind of faith, one that's lived without all that heavy armor of doubt. And here, you can see the contrast is just stark. You have Antonius Block, our knight, who's paralyzed by what's called arithmetic, just endless calculations and doubt, building these elaborate ceremonies to hide the void from himself. And then you have Jove, the actor. He just lives. His goodness isn't a show, it's just his natural default state. This comparison leads the knight to a really painful realization. He sees that his sophisticated doubt has just become a muscle memory of faith. He's going through the motions, saying the words out of pure habit, long after he stopped checking if there was any living truth left in them for him. So he finds himself trapped in what's called the unsaid room of his own spirit, that quiet, inner place of true belief. But even there, he's still calculating, still trying to figure out the cost of a faith he understands with his head, but just can't feel in his heart anymore. And now we've reached the climax. The arguments have all been laid out, and that silent witness we started with, the gargoyle, is finally going to speak.
After 300 years, the gargoyle speaks for the very first time. And it doesn't give an answer. No, it gives a command. It tells the knight to stop projecting all his fears onto the silence, and instead to ask what the silence itself has actually witnessed over all those centuries. And there it is. The core of the knight's entire problem is laid bare. His whole spiritual quest was never really about witnessing truth. It was about being witnessed by God. It's a kind of sincerity that has completely forgotten how to examine itself. As this whole confrontation, this first dance of truth, comes to a close, the jester transforms into the knight's ultimate fear, the literal void left behind by an unanswered prayer. This terrifying moment of revelation is called the Holy Blight.
In this one moment, everything just shatters. The armor of his nobility, it breaks. The unnamed rot that he's been carrying around is finally named out loud. And for the very first time, the true face underneath the performance is revealed to the world.
So what is he left with? Not judgment, not damnation, but this profound, incredible realization. The universe doesn't pick sides. The light of existence, it shines on the noble and the ignoble with the exact same unconditional presence.
And just like that, the jester and the gargoyle's work is done. They continue their descent into the world's truths, and they leave the knight behind. He's been stripped of his illusions, his performances, his calculations. He's just left alone, standing in a starkly brightly lit room. And the one question that hangs in the air for him, and maybe for us too, is, what will he do with it?